Aloha, this is State Representative Bob McDermott. Thank you for being with me for this McDermott's message. My guest got caught in traffic, so he's not going to be here today. It's just me and you, but that's okay. I've got some things I want to talk to you about. Here we are in the legislature. We're about in at the second week so far. I mean, just getting started, second week of hearings. We started January 18th. We're now coming out of the end of January. And I've got some things I want to bring the people of Ewa Beach and the west side, quite frankly, up to speed on. Those are my lawsuit regarding the Department of Education and the substandard facilities at Campbell High School, which affects Kapolei, Makakilo, and the entire west side. I want to give you a general overview of the legislature so far based on the measures that I'm seeing come across my desk and the flavor and the tempo of what things are going to be introduced. Also, I'll talk for a moment about our change in Republican caucus leadership. It was in the media for about a week, and I will separate the fact from the fiction. And then I'll just tell you how to get a hold of me. So, without any further delay, let's get started. As some of you may know, I filed a lawsuit against the state of Hawaii, the Department of Education, and the chairman of the Board of Education on behalf of the students at Campbell High School. My children go to Campbell High School, so I actually have personal interest in this. I have skin in the game. And we asked for several things. One of them is that the entire school be air conditioned. The school sits in the flight path of Honolulu International Airport. So the noise from the jets makes it difficult to learn, and you have to have the doors and windows open because it's so hot over there. We would like the school to be air conditioned. Now, Governor Ige's Cool 1,000 Classrooms has been an abysmal failure. He's gotten 42 classrooms done. All the urgency of the post office and compassion of the IRS. 42 classrooms out of 1,000. And by the way, it's not air conditioning 1,000 classrooms. This is air conditioning and heat mitigation. Now, what does that mean? Well, it's been sold as air conditioning, but you're going to have a lot of fans, you're going to have a lot of painting roofs white, and you're going to have a lot of trees planted against walls to absorb sunshine and the solar energy, which would reduce the temperatures of the classrooms. You're looking, on average, maybe a target of 3 degrees, lowering the heat. Well, when you have classrooms that are 96 degrees, taking it down to 93 doesn't make much difference at all. And that's why I've said Campbell still needs to be air conditioned to provide a conducive learning environment. In fact, studies have shown that the best temperature to learn at is 72 degrees. You go below that, test scores drop. You go above that, test scores drop. So a conducive environment is 72 degrees, and that's well-documented studies through various universities on the mainland. The second thing we asked for was the additional building, the $31 million building, to be completed in a design-build fashion, to be done within 18 months of the judge's order. That can be done. This is needed to accommodate the influx of students that we'll see in the next few years. Campbell High School will be up at 3,600 students in just 2 years. 3,600 students. Let me say that again, 3,600. Do you know what the average enrollment is in the state of Hawaii? 1,100 students, 1,100. So Campbell High School is already 3 times larger than the average high school. That's a problem. And in our lawsuit, we talk about the reason the overcrowding is a problem. So imagine you have the basketball team, and the basketball coach can take 15 players. Well, he has 3,600 students to choose from. He's going to take the top 15. So the good news is we should never lose a basketball game or a football game because we're pulling from a population of 3 schools, essentially, to take the best of the best, the cream of the crop. The bad news is children who would normally have an opportunity to participate and or even start on that basketball team won't even make the team because they can't make the competition of this super school, this mega school. And we know that mega schools, anecdotally particularly, we know they're not good. The degree of infamiliarity, the principal cannot possibly know the name of every senior student that they have. Generally, after 3 or 4 years, the principal, having these students over the course of 3 or 4 years, gets to know the names of each of his students. Well, classes that size, 700, 800 students, there's no possible way a principal can know the student. So the student feels like a number. And you can imagine a young high school student, we've all gone through it, feeling somewhat lonely, searching for your identity, searching for a group to be part of, a clique, whatever you may call it, and you are just a number. You are a number in a factory, and the kids know that. That is why these big schools are not good, and therefore you see an increase in drug use. You see an increase in fights and gang activity, certainly, and of course teen pregnancy and promiscuity among young people, which are all negative behavior indicators that we want to avoid. So big schools are bad. The best schools are small schools, tiny schools, closer to the community instead of these mega schools. Now I will say that the principal and vice principal at Campbell High School have done a fantastic job. They received national recognition for the work they've done academically to lift this school up and promote it and the students. And they are making chicken soup out of chicken scratch, if you know what I mean. They are doing a fantastic job. These guys just go to work every day and forget the obstacles. They just plow ahead. Another thing, let me get a drink of water here if you don't mind. Another thing we have at Campbell High School is there's no cafeteria. What do you mean no cafeteria? Well, there's a cafeteria, but they don't use it. In fact, they've closed it down. It's inoperable. They cook the food in the caf, and then they take it out to the four corners of the campus and serve the kids. And the reason they did this is the cafeteria was too small to serve the student population. So since not everybody can eat in the caf, and I mean, the caf holds 800 kids. They serve lunch all at the same time. There's 1/2 hour lunch bell. That's over 3,200 kids currently eat lunch at one time. It doesn't even hold a quarter of them, so they don't even open it up. They take lunch out to the four corners of the campus, and kids eat in the hot sun. They eat in the hallways, they eat in the stairways, wherever they can cop a squat, if you will, they'll grab their food and sit down and eat. What this has caused is many children not to buy lunch. In fact, we know that Campbell serves, based on the data that they told us, 590 lunches a day. Well, 590 hot lunches a day. That means that the vast majority of the campus is not partaking in the school lunch, but also Campbell is a borderline Title I school, so that means half the children who can get Title I free lunch are not getting their free lunch because the situation to provide that free lunch is so cumbersome and so burdensome, and the opportunity to eat it in the hot sun is so unattractive that the children pass on it. Now I'm going to hold up a little visual aid here. And I don't know if you can see it. Well, you can see it here, but you know, this is how they serve the meals right here in this makeshift station, if you will. You can see the electric cords certainly are not up to OSHA specs. And then here's a young guy. This is how they eat their lunch. He's out in the middle of the sun, literally in the sun, eating out of a plastic styrofoam thing, and that gives a whole new meaning to the term hot lunch at Campbell High School. Let me put this down. So, the state of Hawaii has an obligation in the state constitution to provide Article 10, Section 1 says the state is responsible for the physical facilities of our education system. Well, clearly the state hasn't been doing their job, and Campbell is just one example. It's grossly overcrowded. Right down the road, Kapolei High School is grossly overcrowded. And the solution to these was to build a school called East Kapolei High School. That school has been on the drawing board for about 10 years. We also ask in our lawsuit that school's construction be expedited, and one of the 4 sites selected that the department has studied. So there's a big study on the East Kapolei High School where it should be built, and they give options. They don't tell the DOE. They said, here are your options. Here's the things you can look at. DOE hasn't made a decision. $5 million was released last May for the design and planning of East Kapolei High School. I have just found out that the money is being spent to design and plan Ho'opili High School. Ho'opili High School is a high school to be built 10 years from now to accommodate the students from the Ho'opili housing development. The land is given to the state free by D.R. Horton, the developer of Ho'opili. So what the department has decided to do is, instead of build East Kapolei and then 10 years later build Ho'opili, they're just going to make this mega school at Ho'opili, and they're going to call it East Kapolei Ho'opili or something of that nature. They're going to call it Ho'opili. The problem is they never consulted the community. I found out about it by accident, and I'm a legislator. They're going to have another mega school. So you're going to have 3 mega schools on the west side. Campbell, which will not decrease in size, is going to stay at 3,500 as far as the eye can see. You're going to have Kapolei, which is closing in on 3,000 students, and it's going to stay a mega school. And then you're going to have this East Kapolei / Ho'opili High School, which will be another mega school, a gigantic school. So you have 3 mega schools on the west side. And why are they doing this? Well, they're saying we don't have enough money to build East Kapolei High School. We don't have enough money to pay for the land. It's too problematic. You know, they have enough money to build a $170 million school in Kihei, Maui, where none exists right now, to service 800 students, which is taking 400 from 2 schools, Maui and Baldwin. They each have about 1,400. They're going to take 400 from each of those schools and put them in this new school. So you're going to have 3 schools with each a population of roughly 900 kids, below the state's average, and we have these 3 mega schools out here. And the school in Maui is not needed. It's $170 million. Their enrollment is declining. Declining. I've told the governor this. I've met with his chief of staff. I showed him the numbers from the Department of Education. Why are you building a $170 million school where enrollment is declining? On top of that, you're violating all of the Department of Education's own specs to build a new high school regarding slope of the land, the minimum number of students, on and on. They don't care because it's politics. You see, the state of Hawaii had a great idea when they started the statewide school system, and that was to provide equity and equality in the distribution of the educational product and dollar throughout the state. Great idea, right? Well, the problem is the politicians, guys like me who have my job, get in there and muck it up. And I say, I want a performing arts center at my school. Well, the school down the road doesn't have a cafeteria. I don't care. I want a performing arts center, and I have political power and political juice, so you need to take care of me. And I get taken care of because I got the political juice. And the kids suffer. But the politicians are short-sighted. In this building, we have 76 egomaniacs and no leadership. Governor Ige is not a leader. David is a nice man with a lovely family, but he couldn't lead his way out of a paper bag. So these guys do what they want. He didn't ask for the Maui High School, but they put it in the budget, and so he's going to fund it. He doesn't have the cojones to stand up to him and say, hey, don't build this high school. It's not needed. It's going to be, not only that, it's going to be a burden on the system once it is built. And these surrounding schools are all going to lose because of student-weighted formula. They won't have money for band. They won't have money for buses because they'll all be so small. He doesn't care. he can't possibly care because I've written him letters and he hasn't said anything to me, hasn't responded to those letters. And I find that very disappointing. So our lawsuit, we filed it, we went to circuit court. And the judge, nice man, I guess he was probably what you call a centrist philosophically, but he didn't want to, circuit court, he wasn't intellectually curious, he didn't want to deal with this. So he dismissed our case, which I found disappointing. Somebody with some curiosity would want to find out why kids are eating in the hot sun, why they don't have a place to eat their lunch. But he didn't view it that way. So now we're filing with the Court of Appeals. By the time this video airs, you should be seeing something in the news about our appeal with the Intermediate Court of Appeals. And we're going to go all the way to the state Supreme Court. We're going to do what we got to do for these children. If we can make some changes to the system, that would be fantastic. I'm disappointed that the Hawaii State Teachers Association hasn't helped me. I've asked them for help. I've begged them for help. So if you're a teacher out there, you need to call up your union president, Corey Rosenlee, and ask him why he hasn't helped me. I said there's a myriad of things you guys could do. Filed an amicus brief, a friend of the court brief, saying, hey, we need to fully fund these schools. You could intervene. You could join me. You could help with the legal fees I have. You could even help with a myriad of ways, but they refused. And I'm disappointed. Of course, they didn't endorse me when I ran for re-election. Why that was, I don't know. Because no one has fought harder for the kids at Campbell High School than I have. And that's just a matter of public record. There's no patting myself on the back. My community demands that I do that. So it's nothing special. Okay, so that's where we're at with the lawsuit. General overview of the legislature. Assisted suicide, there are a myriad of bills introduced on assisted suicide. It seems to be on the fast track. I think it will pass the House. The only question, will the Senate and House agree? Because when you have assisted suicide, the finality to this is quite final. You're talking about life and death. So will the controls and protocols that need to be in place, and will the Senate and House, the different chairs, agree on those things? I do not support it. I don't think you need it. I think there's pain management and palliative care have come a long way in the last 20 years, last 30 years, so there's really no need for it. Now you're going to hear stories about suffering, anecdotal stories, and I have anecdotal stories of my own, being with a loved one who had a terminal illness and died. That's not how we should make policy, though. But that looks like it's on the fast track. But you never know what's going to happen here. You just never know. Pay raises, of course, the governor and the unions are negotiating as we speak, and trying to come to some agreement with pay raises. Whatever they are, they'll be relatively small, 1%, 2%, across the board. A lot of bills on development, particularly transit-oriented development along the rail line, to make that affordable, to increase the starting of it, the opportunities of it. Right now, all we hear with the train is the bad news. Every day, the paper, another negative story. If you wrote that many negative stories about my mother, I wouldn't even like her. So it's hard to see the good in it. But I'm convinced that this project, once it goes, it has to go all the way to the University of Hawaii. I mean, everybody knows that, and that's where it's going to go to be viable, because the college kids from the west side need to ride it to go to the university. And if you make it clean, comfortable, and fast, and no hassle, they will ride it to the University of Hawaii. And because there's no parking over there, and make it easy, drop right off on the station. But it's not for me, my generation. I'll see it when I'm an old man. But it will be for my children and their children. And it will be a wonderful thing for kids in the west side to be able to get on the train and in 25, 30 minutes be at Manoa campus. in an air-conditioned, clean, fast ride. And that's where the future will be. It won't reduce traffic congestion because we're going to grow by 50, 100,000 people in the next decade. So that's a net. You know, it's a net zero. So you're seeing, and then homeless. Homeless is a big issue, right? How do you tackle the homeless? Jesus said, we'll always have the homeless with us, right? You always have the poor with you. And we have, and since antiquity. So how do we address that in a compassionate fashion? I think we are doing all we can. How do you change someone's mind when they don't want to do something? If they're happy living under a tree, spending their money on malt liquor, getting a buzz every day and then passing out and starting again, no responsibilities with that, don't have to be anywhere, there's plenty of free food, they like to live like that. How do you change their mind? The only guys I think who would have any success in that, particularly with the drunks and the drug users, are the clergy. They're the only ones who've had any demonstrable success. The mentally ill, wow. The laws handcuff us from doing anything to help them. If somebody doesn't want to take their meds, you cannot force them. So if they want to live in the shadows of life, there's nothing you can do to force them to come out of the shadows. Unless they're a danger to themselves, you can arrest them for 48 hours, get them on some meds, but once they're released, they can stop taking them, and they do. And then they go and live in bizarro world, which to them is the reality, and what the reality we live in is not real to them. So that's a real challenge. The one area where we have a great deal of success is getting that family who's living in a car because they just got evicted and they're working off the street. That we can do, and we've been successful with that. A single mom with one child should never be homeless because there are so many programs out there and so many resources. She can get an emergency payment for rent and an emergency food stamp supply right off the bat. Just goes down there and says, I'm indigent, I'm abandoned, I need a place. It's not the Taj Mahal, but she'll be able to get a studio or something like that and get off the street. So those are the things: the homeless, the train, transit-oriented development, assisted suicide. Those seem to be the big ones on everyone's radar. And lastly, we had a change in the Republican caucus leadership here recently. We replaced our minority leader, who is a very talented, bright, articulate, driven young lady, with another bright, articulate, driven young lady, because it was for the best of the group. When you have leadership, when you're a leader, and this goes for any kind of leader, you need to engage in servant leadership. That means you're the leader, but the best leaders are servant leaders. They're the ones who look out for their troops, if you will. In the Marine Corps, a platoon of Marines would be out in the field training. They're going to have hot chow. They bust the chow in and set up the chow line. The last person to eat is the commanding officer. He's the guy who gets saluted when his car comes through the gate. He's the one everyone calls sir. He's the one everybody kisses his butt, and they want to impress him and want to be on his good side. But he's the last one to eat. Why is that? Because it's his job to make sure his troopies are taken care of, to make sure his troops are fed and they have the beans, the bullets, and Band-Aids that they need. His job is to get those young Marines safely home to mom and dad after they accomplish their mission. That's his charge. And it's an awesome responsibility. So he gets the limelight, he gets the credit, he gets the glory, he gets the blame, but he also has the responsibility to serve everyone below him. I'll give you another example of servant leadership. Magic Johnson. Now, Magic probably only led the Lakers in scoring 1 or 2 years out of his 15-year career. I think it was about 15 years he played, because he had a break there and he came back. But he was the leader of the team. People wanted to come play with Magic Johnson because he made them better. He understood his role was to make those around him better. He served them. He revitalized Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's career because he understood servant leadership is helping those around you. You subjugate your personal interests and your personal views to lift those up around you. And by shining the light on the other folks, the eventual backglow from the spotlight shines on you. And if you're a good servant leader, it pays off. So I just want to reiterate, our leader was not fired for speaking out. She was fired for a multitude of things going back 2.5 years, and transgressions and lack of support for the people under her charge. It was her attitude. It's all about me, and the title is here for me, and not. The title is here for me, and the title serves me. Our attitude is the title is there to serve the rest of us as leaders. So that was a major point of contention. A little bit of self-centeredness in this building, full of self-centered people. It really is. To say someone's self-centered is breathtaking, but this young lady who was our leader was pretty self-centered, and I'm hoping that she'll learn from this issue. In any case, my name is State Representative Bob McDermott. You give me a call, you want to message me, go to my Facebook, send me a message, take me a couple days to get back to you. Or you can call our state capitol office here, 586-9730. That's 586-9730. Always look forward to helping you. I want to give a shout out to Michelle, who's helped put the video together, my office staff, Keith and Harvey, my lovely wife, Utufa, Celia, and our kids. Until next time, aloha, God bless you all, and Ewa Beach.